Great. Okay, so everyone is muted, and as you can appreciate with this number of people, it is not possible to conduct a meeting with good audio when everyone's mic is on. You can post comments, feel free to ask questions and feedback via the chat facility below. You will also have the opportunity to ask questions later, and we really encourage you to do this, so please ask away. Please do not post any links or images, or you will be removed from the meeting. And just a reminder that we are active on social media, so follow us at ARCC Ltd and Croydon BME Forum on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and of course TikTok. So before we begin, as I did mention earlier, I'm just going to load up the first poll. Okay, so this should be on your screens now. So we've got Cancer and Health Research Poll 1. Just got a few questions here. So I feel confident to recommend cancer screenings to friends and family. And that's either strongly agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. And the second is cancer within my community is discussed, either openly, sometimes a bit, but needs more awareness, rarely, or never. Okay, so just got two more people to complete that. Should go out for a cup of tea or something. Okay, so interesting results there. Thank you very much for that. Just going to end there. So mostly strongly agree and agree for the first one. So feeling confident about recommending cancer screenings. And it's a dead tie for cancer within my community is discussed either sometimes or a bit, but needs more awareness. So thank you very much for that. You can just see a quick glance at the results there. And this is really valuable to our project and for the future as well, to help us understand cancer in Croydon. So Lorraine and myself, Lorraine is both Lorraine and I are the project coordinator. I'm working on behalf of the Asian Resource Centre, or ARC, and Lorraine is working at Croydon BME Forum. So we're working in partnership representing both our organizations, Croydon BME Forum and ARCC, and we're funded by RM Partners. We're on a joint venture to bring awareness of cancer screenings to the forefront. I'm sure that you've seen reports or the news lately relating to cancer affecting everybody worldwide. Recently, obviously, there was George Alagaya. We are here to ensure that the Black and South Asian communities of Croydon have the necessary information and support. We've been speaking with people in the local community to gain an understanding of why cancer screenings amongst Black and South Asian community are so low. So I'd like to introduce this evening's speaker, Saran Green. We feel honored to have Saran Green speak with us today, as she is the Patient and Public Involvement, or PPI, coordinator for the Reimagine study at King's College London. As well as this, Saran coordinates all engagement activities for the Translational Oncology and Urology, or TOR, team. She works closely with the head of TOR and lead for Work Strand 6 of the Reimagine study. Work Strand 6 involves all communication with the public and all the patients in the study. For example, websites, newsletters, and events. Saran is also part of the King's Engagement Research Network, aka KERN, K-E-R-N. We're lucky to have her give a talk this evening for the Cancer Awareness Programme Croydon on cancer and health research and why engagement matters. Saran Green, Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Please could you help us understand more about health and cancer research and why participation and engagement matters to South Asian and Black communities?
Thank you, Tom. I will do my best. So it's a pleasure to be here today with you all. I'm just going to share my slides. Um, Tom, can you give me access to sharing, please? I can't share.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So while Tom sorts that, I just have a quick question. How many of you right here, right now, without hearing from me, no input from myself, would actually take part in research? So can I just see either raise your hand in the air, physical hand, or you can use the toolbar below the screen and raise your hand with that. So far I'm seeing two people. Okay. Okay, great. Thank you. Hopefully, by the end of my presentation, I will have persuaded some of you to give me some hard yeses in terms of engaging with research. Yeah, any luck?
Okay, so I'm just trying to see if I can make you a co-host. If not, there is a plan B. Love all these technical intricacies of Zoom. Um, okay, we'll do plan B. Okay, so you should be able to do that now. Is that available?
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant.
Great. Thanks for your patience.
Can everyone see my screen? Yeah. Okay, fantastic. So, as Tom said, I'm from King's College London. I work on the Guy's campus. So I work across Guy's Cancer and KCL. I am a patient and public involvement and engagement manager. Um, when Tom read my bio, it reminded me that I need to update the website, the website information. So today, the views expressed are not necessarily those of Guy's Cancer, nor of KCL, nor of the Translational Oncology Urology Research Team, which I belong to. But today, I'm here representing the Patient and Public Involvement Cancer Research Group for Diverse Backgrounds, which I coordinate. So, what is PPI? So, in short, it's involving the patients in research. So, it's including the patient's voices in every stage of research. Involve, or the NIHR, describe patient public involvement as research being carried out with or by members of the public rather than to or about them. So as I said, I'm an engagement professional, and patient public involvement is very important to us at King's as well as at TOR. However, the Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities are underrepresented in research. And for that reason, we established the PPI Cancer Research Group for Diverse Backgrounds. So our aims are to create a research forum which represents the voices of those from diverse communities directly affected by research projects and healthcare services, to provide a platform for researchers to access this underrepresented population of patients and members of the public who wish to be involved with clinical research. Also, to provide a greater range of perspectives from the Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities. And finally, to empower, educate, and equip diverse ethnic communities so they can make informed decisions about their health and engage with research. And I think that the final aim really summarizes everything else. So in short, the PPI Cancer Research Group for Diverse Backgrounds, is all about educating, engaging, and empowering people from our communities. So I think it's important for us, in order to engage with our health, it's important for us to understand the odds and to understand the landscape. So even though my area is cancer, I'm also going to address other health issues as well. So here we have the ethnic health inequalities in the UK. So, for example, in the UK, African Caribbean men are up to 3 times more likely to develop prostate cancer than white men of the same age. And then also for South Asian and Black people, are 2 to 4 times more likely to develop type 2 diabetes than white people. So I won't go through all of them, but I think it's also important to highlight the donation, like blood donation and organ donation. So that's at 5% in the Black community and minority ethnic community. And for organ donation, it's it's at 42% consent for Black and minority ethnic communities, whilst it's at 71% for white eligible donors. And I think it's important to outline, or rather to highlight these, because it affects our outcomes. So this affects whether we have a longer waiting time, it affects our mortality rates, and so on. Even for breast cancer, for example, Black women have the lowest survival rate after breast cancer diagnosis. And they also are 3 times more likely to have triple negative breast cancer, which is actually a more aggressive subtype of cancer and has the least treatment options. And it's a similar issue with prostate cancer. Black men tend to have a more aggressive subtype of prostate cancer. So Brenda Hayanga et al. At King's, she points out that people of Black, South Asian, and other ethnicity are more likely to have a higher prevalence of multi-morbidity. So this is having more than 2 long-term health conditions and cardiovascular multi-morbidity compared to white people. The likelihood of having 2 or more long-term conditions was higher in Black Africans, Black Caribbeans, mixed, and Black other people compared to white people. Among people with established renal failure, so this having to do with your kidneys, the prevalence of vascular comorbidity was found to be higher in South Asian patients, but lower in Black patients compared to white patients. Afro-Caribbean people with diabetes were reported to be at a higher risk of microvascular complications when compared to our white counterparts. So in short, we have a higher incidence and the worst mortality. Even with diagnosis, we're 71% more likely to be diagnosed late for breast cancer, 42% for colon cancer, and for ovarian cancer, 85%. And it's important to point out that all of these cancers have screening programs. However, the uptake is very poor from the Black and Asian community, right? We often present late. And I mean, and there are a number of factors that could contribute to this. I mean, there are barriers to health. So for example, it could be income, education, and so on, as well as studies have shown that particularly in the Black community, that you're not taken seriously when you present to your GP, or you're not referred when you present with problems related to cancer. You're not given the correct referral. So in short, it's important that we educate ourselves, engage, and empower in order so that we can advocate for ourselves, right? So the PPI Cancer Research Group for Diverse Backgrounds, we created a resource and we called it Aruares, the apricot. We like to think that she's maybe Latin American or from thereabouts. And we thought it would be a useful tool for healthcare professionals and academics to employ when engaging with our communities because it can be quite complex. So the A is for acknowledgement. So this is about recognizing the past health and research injustices, hence the reason for the mistrust. And also the R is for reassurance. So we need to highlight the bodies, the rules and regulations that are in place now to protect patients and their data. The U is for utilizing a mixed method approach. So we know that different things appeal to different people. So we're suggesting one-to-ones, outreach, just different methods of communication. Other A is for awareness. So this is about being aware and being culturally competent, having awareness of the barriers. So this could be language, culture, religion. We know in both communities, Black and Asian community, we know that privacy is a big issue. We're very private, as well as honor in the Asian community is also a factor as well. And then onto respect, this is about offering remuneration for time and input, and also sharing findings, because oftentimes, we engage with patients and members of the public, but we don't follow up, we don't provide feedback. And then finally, E and the S is for engagement. Sorry, encouragement and support. So it's important that throughout the process, we check in with the patients, we check in with the public, especially during the early stages to see how they're getting on, because this oftentimes helps with retention. So we've been circulating this resource to different groups accordingly. So now that we understand the health landscape and the odds that are against us, it's important for us to also understand the research landscape. So there's so much research, but there's so little data, and that sounds very odd, but I'll explain. So 90% of the data is from European ancestry. Current data is not representative, and most of the cell lines used for science discovery were taken from the white population. The NHS Race and Health Observatory, their ethnic inequalities in healthcare, a rapid evidence review, found that ethnic minority people are not well represented in large genomic-wide association studies. The thing is, we present different, and it is physically, it is biologically, our molecular makeup is different. New research at Sanford, Birmingham, Prebys has revealed significant molecular differences between the breast cells of white and Black women. And what's the impact? The lack of cell lines taken from Black, Asian, and minority ethnic communities make it difficult to find new treatments that will work for these communities. And here are some real life examples. So I don't know how many of you are familiar with this drug. It's docetaxel. And they found that a change in the gene found more commonly in Black men was found to reduce the response of these men with prostate cancer to this drug, which is widely used for prostate cancer. If this drug had been tested on the cells taken from Black men, this resistance might have been picked up earlier. And similarly, for Plavix, also known as clopidogrel, this antiplatelet medication used to reduce the risk of heart disease in Asians, it's known to have a less of a profound response compared to Europeans, right? So increased participation from diverse communities in cancer research will add valuable data and genetic information to the growing understanding of different cancers that are more susceptible to diverse communities, and in the long term, provide the research tools needed to improve patient outcomes for these communities. So help us help you, because different groups respond differently to different treatments. If doctors do not have evidence of a treatment for a particular group, they may be reluctant to offer it. Without including a broad range of people, results may be generalized. And like I said, we have real life examples like docetaxel and Plavix and who knows what else. Introducing new treatment is complicated unless we test them in different groups. We cannot be sure if they work in practice. So once again, it's the 3 E's: educate, engage, empower. And it's important to acknowledge the health injustices that happened in the past and that continue to happen, particularly in Black communities. I think one of the more common studies or was the syphilis study where Black men were undiagnosed, were told that they were being treated for something else and were left to die. And recently, I think many of you may be aware of the Henrietta Lack, whose family is now suing these pharmaceutical companies who used her cells in innovative research, groundbreaking research, without her consent. So we appreciate that these things did happen, but it's important to highlight that there are groups, both locally and international authorities, agencies, governing bodies, ethical frameworks. There are so many systems in place to protect patients and their data. So these are just a few examples. So as an engagement professional, my colleagues and I are trying to use patient and public involvement as a corrective in addressing the inequality. So we want to shift from what the imbalance that's currently happening with unequal health outcomes to the scale here, which is representing equality. But we cannot do so without without including your voices in research. So I think a lot of times, we talk about research and, or rather you hear the word research and immediately it's a red flag and maybe you zone out and you think, no, 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 not me. But it's important to emphasize that research is not always invasive. It doesn't mean you have to take part in a clinical trial or test, a drug or treatment. Sometimes research can be just sharing your experiences, sharing your lived experiences. It can involve reviewing documents, like enhancing its readability, accessibility. It also could be a discussion group, an interview, a focus group, a one-to-one. There's so many different ways you can engage with research that suits you. But I think it's important to highlight the benefits, which I don't think as researchers, as healthcare professionals, we don't sing, we need to sing and shout about the benefits. So you can actively contribute to improvement in patient care because you have a voice. You can receive optimal care. Oftentimes, these research teams are made up of the best healthcare professionals. You can ensure that the research is patient-centered. Oftentimes, even though we all have the same agenda, which is improving patient outcomes, sometimes we can be removed from the experience. So it is important for your voice to be included so that we remain patient-centered. There are also opportunities for training and learning. So it's not just about learning more about the disease, your disease, or a family member's disease, but also you could upskill, you could learn new skills, like, for example, public speaking, attending conferences locally or internationally. It can build your confidence, develop your CV, improve your employment prospects, as well as provide a supplementary income. So many patients and members of the public that I work with, oftentimes this is a supplementary income for them. And finally, you have access to cutting edge medical technology and treatments that aren't available on the NHS as yet. So I'm wrapping up now. So I'm going to ask the question, would you take part in research? So I'm just going to stop sharing my screen for 1 minute because I really want to see your faces. So following my presentation, how many of you would take part in research? Do we have the same two hands? You can use a toolbar. You can, I got more. I love it. We have more hands. Fantastic. I'm pleased. I'm very pleased. Okay. So let me just go back into my slides. Awesome. So if you are interested in getting involved in research, our group is open to everyone. As I said, it's PPI Cancer Research Group for diverse backgrounds. We meet every 2 months. However, we engage with research as and when required, and it's voluntary, so you can engage with whatever you choose to. You have a choice. Or you can send me a message on our Twitter page, which is at diverse PPI. But I would love to hear from you. And then these are my affiliations and just a few acknowledgements. Thank you very much for listening. And if you have any questions, the floor is all yours. I'm gonna stop sharing.
Wow, thank you so much, Saran.
Thank you, Lizzie.
Turn the video back on. That was yeah, that was very insightful. There was a lot there. Really useful. Um, yeah, if anyone has a question, just please feel free to either pop it in the chat or you can go to reactions at the bottom, click, and then you can raise your hand. Just
I see
raise a
some
hand like I've
comments
done
in
there.
the chat. Thank you, everyone. I'm glad you found it interesting.
Just while people are thinking of a question, I had one. You had a yeah, you had a slide on it, which was the health injustices in the past, which from the work we've done already in the program, that's something which came up early on, especially when talking with people. Um, I mean, yeah, research, as you said, it's that word that people kind of shy away from. So,
Yeah.
um, how do you, or are there ways to reassure people to participate in research who may be reluctant because of the past?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I mentioned, I think it's oftentimes as researchers, we don't highlight the rules and regulations, the bodies that are in place, both internally and externally, to protect patients, because every research project has to go through ethics. And oftentimes, these panels, we have patient representative, public representatives. So it's important for us to highlight that. I think there's a lack of awareness and a lack of education. And I think from the research community, we don't share that enough, that there are things in place to support patients, to protect patients at every step of the process. And I think we shouldn't pretend that the past didn't happen. We need to acknowledge it. It's like the resource that we developed, that's one of the reasons why we did it, because it's having that knowledge of engaging with these communities who have a number of it's quite complex. There are underlying issues that are affecting our engagement with health, that are affecting our engagement with research. So if we have this awareness, and sometimes it's cultural competence training also, that will help us in engaging, because oftentimes we like to blame each other, but it's like a marriage. We have to work together.
That's an excellent point. Really interesting. So we've had some other questions come up. Zarina, I can see your hands up. I'm just going to do, there's a few more in the chat first. So Lizzie has asked, why is so much data not used beyond the research point? Is it funding?
In what sense? I didn't quite understand the question.
I suppose, and I'm completely speaking for Lizzie here, I'm not
It's
sure
okay. I
what.
can ask.
Thank you.
Sorry, no worries. No, I just you made a really interesting point earlier where you were with the slide that said there's so much data, or what was it? So much research, not enough data. Sorry, I think I put it the wrong way around. And I just yeah, and I just wanted to know more, like, obviously we can participate in the research groups and things, but you know, as a sort of layman, is there anything we can do or
Yeah,
raise awareness around sort of moving that into actual useful?
yeah, because I think that's why it's so important to highlight the risk and the benefits of engaging with research, because it's only that way that people will be more inclined to respond. Um, because we have this data, which, as we said, is made up of, you know, the white majority, but we're not having our communities come forward to engage with research, or they're not giving their input. And whether that, I know it's not like, for example, blood donation, organ donation, it's not for everyone, but data, your data, which is anonymized, that's a valuable resource that we can use to improve and address health inequalities. And oftentimes, you know, there's a hesitance, you know, reticence to releasing your data to researchers, right? So I think it's important for us to speak to each other in the community about how beneficial it is, and how us contributing not our data, as well as even taking part in a clinical trial, we are in make, because it's like paracetamol. This had to be tested on people. So anything that you're doing, any trial that you're doing, any drug that you're taking, that went through a trial. So it's not that weird, it's not that odd. It happens every day. Any drug you're taking now was actually in a trial. It was a clinical trial made up of participants. So it's important to highlight that to our communities, and just to sing and shout about the benefits, because this lack of data is affecting our outcomes.
Thank you so much.
No problems.
Thank you, Lizzie. Zarina, I'm just going to.
Yes, hi. I was thinking about, well, majority of us, the first point of contact would be our GP. And where you mentioned that at times, doctors don't always refer us to a consultant or to the hospital for further checks. So in that scenario, in that case, what would people do if their doctor's not willing to participate or to at least encourage further testing?
And this is where the 3 E's come in. It's about educating, engaging, and empowering. Because if we had a better awareness of our symptoms, we would be able to advocate more for ourselves. Because as us, the GP is human, right? They're a general practitioner. They're not a specialist. So sometimes you need to advocate for yourself and say, look, you feel this way, I feel this way. I know my body. It needs to be addressed. I need to have a scanner, whatever it is. Sometimes you just need to be persistent.
I think that, you know, even though sometimes you can be persistent, and I'm sure many people are, they still don't get the result that they actually want.
True.
And I feel that we need another gateway for that, for people to actually access and say, I need further testing.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's about educating the GPs as well, as to, you
Definitely.
know,
And like I said, the GP is the first point of call for most people.
Absolutely.
And when it comes to research as well, when you're face to face with your GP and your GP suggests that you could take part in research, people are more likely to participate. And you receive something through the door, how many of us actually just don't even bother?
Yeah, no, I agree.
You know, so it's changing that way as well. And obviously nowadays it's even more difficult to see a GP. A lot of people don't see their GP anymore. So that area is actually may contribute to more cases of cancer in the future, because people are not actually seeing their GPs. So that way we need to think about, or at least consider, there needs to be another gateway.
I completely agree. That's something definitely we need to work on. Thank you, Serena.
Yeah, really interesting discussions as well. I'll see any other questions as mean, yeah, like I mentioned earlier, Saran, yeah, I attended a really interesting uh, talk event yesterday, and it was on research. Um, and one stat that really blew me away was apparently the fact that USA and Australia are further ahead in inequality research, and the UK's quite far behind.
Yeah.
Um, why do you think that is? If you don't worry, I know
Oh,
it's a bit
yeah.
on the spot.
You know what? I don't know. I think, it's a very British thing to, not discuss race. Everyone likes to tiptoe around, color and ethnicity. That's my opinion. Um, so while in the US, it's more of an open discussion. So if we're
Mm.
having this open dialogue, we will be able to address it. But I think we try not to talk about it, so it's not being addressed. So that's what I think. But um, I'm open to other suggestions as well.
Yeah, no, I think I mean, yeah, that's part of the program as well. It's something that does need to be addressed and discussed and yeah, addressed head on.
And it's
Um,
everyone. It's not just diverse communities. It's everyone. No one wants to talk about it. I remember I was at a meeting, and it had to do with, yeah, health inequalities. And a lady, she was a brown lady, and she was giving an example, like, well, I'm from the brown community, and you're from the white community. I'm so sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Why is she sorry?
yeah,
We
yeah.
need to be free. We need to have dialogue. We need to talk about this. We need to not be afraid to say black, not be afraid to say white, not be afraid to say brown, because it's
Mm.
holding us back.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It's from what we've been discussing as well with members of the public in Croydon as well. It's a bit like the big C word, like getting people to talk about. It shouldn't be a taboo. It should be widely discussed because if it's behind closed doors, then it's hidden. It's not nothing's being affected by it. Um, there was a really interesting statistic you brought up as well. I mean, you brought up a lot of very interesting statistics, like yeah, 42% of Black and South Asians are signed up for donors, organ donating, where it's 71% whites. The cancer stats as well, for the latest diagnosis, really interesting. And I seem to remember there was a stat about was it black men are three times more likely to get prostate cancer.
Yeah.
Um, where's this? Where's the stat from? Was it Prostate Cancer UK or?
Yeah. So according to the NHS Observatory, they're saying it's 3 times, but I know with prostate cancer and the majority of other charities, it's 4 times for black men, four
Yeah,
times more likely. So yeah.
NHS Observatory was that?
Yeah, yeah. Do you want me to pull up the slide? Yeah, okay.
It's like I've just jotted down. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you
It
could,
was,
yeah, because I mean that's the one which again, yeah, one in four is sort of drilled into my head as the black man.
yeah,
Um,
right. Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, and then I believe 1 in 13 South Asian men. It's considerably lower. Um, but I mean, I suppose that's the thing as well. The, I'm sure the 1 in 4 research is based on something maybe 10 years
Yeah.
ago or so.
Yeah, probably.
And yeah,
And I mean, even with what Lizzie said, like, what can we do to encourage our communities to, engage with research by, giving their data and so on. It's about talking to each other as well. You know, it's like leaving this session today and just talking to your family about the odds, the health inequalities, how you can improve outcomes, because we all have a choice.
Absolutely.
Well, can I
Yeah,
just ask
another
a question? Sorry.
yeah, sure.
Sorry, it's not exactly about research, but it just made me think when you were talking about like the taboo topic around race, and I was just thinking like, you know, you personally, like, do you have any tips on how to talk about like cancer? Because I do feel like I think it was Tom that was saying it was like the big C, like a taboo word, and yeah, I just, you know, sometimes like even with my own family, like when I suspect something or want something to get checked, I just don't know how to bring it up. And I just wondered if, from your personal experience, whether you just had like some good phrases or ideas or anything.
Yeah, I think sometimes it's good to, shock them with a statistic. Do you know what I mean? And say, look, did you know that in the Black Asian community, this is such and such a case, we're more likely to have, for example, a more aggressive form of prostate cancer or breast cancer. It's making them aware of the risk, because I think that's the problem. We don't appreciate the odds are against us. So maybe if we say, we're more likely to, maybe if if you're speaking to a member of your family, you could probably say, we're more likely to develop prostate cancer, we're more likely to get to an earlier age. And so, like things like that, I think will shock people and help them. And also, I remember someone said to me once, it's about being a better ancestor, because so many of us, we don't know our family history. We have no clue how our grandparents, or rather our great grandparents died, right? I remember I was speaking to my dad and he didn't know how his dad died, right? He just assumed, he said, I don't know, maybe because my dad had prostate cancer. So he said, maybe he had prostate cancer as well, but I don't know. So it's about speaking to each other about these things, being a better ancestor, because that way you can be more cautious, take the necessary measures to protect yourself. But it's so hard, because I know, like like I was raised in the Black community. I was raised where whatever happens in the home stays in the home. Everything's very private. You don't go out, you don't discuss certain things. You put on a, even if you're not feeling good, you put on a brave face and you go forth. That's the culture, but we need to move away from that, right? We have the knowledge, we have the awareness, we're learning the tools, so we need to move away from that culture where we're so concerned about how people perceive us or what other people may think, and have these discussions. Let's shock them with statistics. Let's shock them with the fact that our incidence is way higher and our mortality, yeah, our incidence is higher, our mortality is higher, our survival is lower, but we can do something about that.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. That was great. I felt your passion in that one. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really excellent point as well. It's the toughest thing to bring up, but it's arguably, one of the most important thing. It could be the most important conversation you have with a family member.
Yeah.
And I really liked what you said about it's about being a better ancestor. It's essentially it's about speaking,
Yeah.
seems to be the theme.
It's creating a dialogue. It's normalizing these discussions in your families, like at the dinner table, right? We're having these conversations, normalizing these, so it's not like, oh gosh, why are you so depressing? Don't bring this up.
Mm. Sorry, just jostling away. I know it's recorded. It's just it's all gold. It's really really interesting. Um, yeah, and that was the first thing as well. You said as well with the benefits of the research. So part of the project that we're running here as well is prevention is better than cure, and we've been aiming to put a positive spin on things. So, um, 1 in 2 people get cancer, but survival rate is up 50% since 1970s, and
Yeah.
the first thing you said here as well is something again, have a voice, have a say in what's going on.
And we have this massive fear in our communities. There's this massive fear, like the minute we hear cancer, it immediately is a death sentence. That's what we assume. But we need to highlight that there's so many new treatments. Like there's, as you said, the survival rate is so much better now. Yeah, so it's like highlighting the positives.
Yeah, because there is a lot of negative out there as well, and rightfully so.
Yeah.
There's a lot of yeah, good news as well. I was also wondering if you could talk a little bit more about the supplementary income as well that's available to research,
Yeah, so
particularly.
every research project is funded, and a good research plan has a budget for patient and public involvement. I mean, no, there's really in kind of criteria for getting approved for a research project is having patient and public involvement. Now, it all depends on the researcher. I mean, really, it should be included at every stage of research from the very beginning to the end. And you receive funding for this. So if budgets are done well, there is an allocation to remunerate patients and members of the public who give their time and input in research. Because it shouldn't be an expense to take part in research. It should never be an expense.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Unless we've got any other questions, I think this is yeah, this has been an amazing talk, and just wanted to say thank you again, Saran. Um, da, 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 da. The final thing before everyone dashes off to enjoy. There's still a bit of sun. If you do want to go out, if you haven't already today, there's still a little bit. Just going to launch the final poll as well. This one. Okay, so same as before, you should see this up on your screen now. So the first question is, I feel confident to recommend cancer screenings to friends and family. Strongly agree, agree, disagree, or strongly disagree. Second one, cancer within my community is discussed, either openly, sometimes, a bit, but needs more awareness, rarely, or never. So I'll just give you a moment to fill in your answers. Just one person. Wow. End it there. And as you can see, that's quite an overwhelming, strongly agree for feeling confident to recommend cancer screenings to friends and family. And yeah, kind of middle answers there for cancer within my community is discussed, which makes sense. Okay, that's awesome. So just one last thing, we have got the dates of our next events. Up and coming one is a bowel cancer awareness talk with Lisa Lena on Zoom. That will be in September, date to be confirmed. There's also something in the works as well with ARCC. Again, it's a health conference, early planning days at the moment, but more to follow shortly, and that will be across all the health projects at ARCC. And Croydon BME Forum have got their cancer conference coming up September, Sunday the 17th at Shiloh Worship Centre, Croydon at CR7 8DD. So thank you once again to our wonderful guest speaker, Saran Green. It's been, yeah, an absolute pleasure and so much information, but it's all digestible, which is so important for this. So thank you so much, Saran. Really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Okay. And thank you everyone for coming as well. Really, again, really appreciate everyone taking the time of this evening, and I hope you get to catch a bit of the sun.
Thank
Take care,
you.
everyone.
Thank you, Tom.
Stay
Thank
safe.
you.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.